After so many battles in the Coliseum and after drinking the black liquid, Spear is beginning to regain his humanity, not only mentally but physically as well. The episode opens with a hallucination. In it, Spear is running joyfully after a baby that has suddenly appeared in front of him. To Spear, that baby is his daughter. For a moment, everything feels peaceful and full of happiness, as if the world had become a safe place again. But the scene abruptly shifts when the baby suddenly slaps him with surprising force, sending him crashing violently into a pile of rocks. The visions begin to overlap. At times, Spear sees the baby, but seconds later he snaps back to the reality of the fight, unfolding in the arena against the green-skinned warrior. The battle for the crown continues while his mind drifts back and forth between the hallucination and the real fight. Whenever he briefly recognizes the danger, Spear manages to dodge some of his opponent's attacks, but every time the image of the baby returns, he freezes for a moment. During those lapses, he cannot react, and he ends up taking direct blows that leave him badly injured. This quickly becomes a serious problem for him. He cannot fight the way he normally would. The crowd surrounding the Coliseum begins to boo, clearly disappointed to see that the new warrior does not seem capable of defeating the reigning king. The fight grows increasingly difficult until, in a brief moment of clarity, Spear finally reacts. Seizing the opportunity, he leaps onto his opponent, grabs him by the head, and in a brutal motion rips part of his skull away, securing the victory and once again claiming the crown. After the fight, Spear looks completely drained and somewhat subdued. He returns to what appears to be his refuge inside the Coliseum, the place where he rests between battles. There, with a strange kind of enthusiasm, he begins using his finger to draw on the wall what he remembers of Meera's baby. It is his way of holding on to that image that keeps appearing in his mind. Meanwhile, far from that place, several days have passed. Meera continues traveling with Fang and the hatchlings. They move along the course of a river while Meera carries her baby on her back. The little girl already shows signs of growing quickly. Along the way, Fang's young begin to play with each other, something that clearly irritates Fang, who answers with a powerful roar to bring them back under control. During their journey, Meera spots a mountain in the distance and immediately recognizes it. The formation appears marked on the map she has been following, confirming that she is getting closer to the place where she believes she might find Spear. Hours pass as the group continues moving forward, slowly approaching their destination. At the same time, Spear seems to be gradually recovering a portion of his sanity. On the wall of his refuge, he has drawn several scenes. In them, he appears alongside Meera, Fang, and the hatchlings, but also surrounded by several children. In his mind, those children represent the family he imagines having. The calm does not last long. A new challenger arrives at the Coliseum, ready to fight him for the crown. Spear quickly steps into the arena, and this time the battle ends almost immediately. He defeats the opponent with a level of ease that surprises even the elderly figure responsible for crowning the victors. After the fight, Spear follows the same ritual as always and drinks from the strange black liquid that is part of the protocol. He then returns to his refuge once more, where he stares at the drawings on the wall and continues devoting time to those images that represent what he most longs to reclaim. The old man watches everything from a distance with a clear look of disapproval, especially when he notices the state of the crown, a symbol that holds enormous importance for that tribe. For them, it is not just an object, it represents power, honor, and tradition. Seeing Spear ignore it or treat it carelessly is almost offensive. Later, another challenger appears in the Coliseum. This time, it is a human with Asian features carrying a staff decorated with the horns of a beast. However, what truly stands out is not the challenger, but Spear himself. Little by little, he has begun leaving behind the rotten, greenish appearance he had after being resurrected. His skin, his eyes, his teeth, and even his hair are starting to regain a more human look. Even so, he still cannot speak. Without hesitation, he charges into the fight. The warrior manages to wound him with the staff and demonstrates an unusual fighting style. His movements are fast and difficult to read, something that reminds Spear of the way a mandrill moves. Even so, the difference in strength between them is overwhelming. With savage fury, Spear eventually overpowers him, and the opponent cannot withstand the attack. The fight ends in a massacre. However, Spear shows no interest in the crown. The only thing that matters to him are the horns attached to the staff, which he takes as if that had been his true objective all along. He completely ignores the crown the old man was about to hand him, something that leaves everyone confused, since that is exactly the prize every challenger seeks when they come to face the king of the Coliseum. Meanwhile, far from that place, Meera's journey continues alongside Fang and her hatchlings. The trip remains difficult, especially because the baby will not stop crying. The constant wailing begins to wear on Meera's patience, and even Fang's young seem irritated by the noise. Not knowing how to calm her, Meera decides to place the baby on a rock for a moment. Strangely enough, that seems to soothe her. Soon after, the little girl begins to crawl. She approaches a small patch of mud and starts playing while exploring her surroundings. With the natural curiosity of a child, she also crawls toward Fang and touches her gently with her tiny hand. Meera watches the moment with tenderness, seeing how her daughter is slowly beginning to discover the world around her. At the same time, another challenger appears in the Coliseum. Spear quickly steps into the arena to face him, but this time the situation is very different. The new opponent is enormous, over 6 meters tall, and his sheer presence is enough to make even Spear pause in surprise. At this point, Spear's motivations are completely tied to his daughter. When he notices the massive red ponytail hanging from the giant's head, his mind immediately jumps to how he could use that hair to finish a toy he is building specifically for her. The giant strikes first. With a powerful punch, he sends Spear crashing into the rocks, then tries to crush him with a massive stomp. Spear manages to grab onto the giant's foot and in a desperate move bites down hard, injuring him. Taking advantage of the moment, he leaps upward and grabs onto the giant's hair. Using the momentum, he manages to pull the giant down to the ground. Once the creature falls, Spear grabs his spear and begins driving it repeatedly into different parts of the giant's body. The enormous size of the opponent becomes a disadvantage, making him slower and clumsier. Although the giant manages to get back on his feet for a moment and attempts to retaliate with rage, the accumulated wounds are too severe. In the end, he collapses and dies. Spear approaches the body, cuts the red hair he needed, and once again ignores the crown being offered to him. Without any interest in the symbol of power, he calmly returns to his shelter to continue assembling the small toy he is making for his daughter. The old man, perhaps trying to reward him, or maybe keep him under control, decides to bring him a courtesan as a gift, believing it might help Spear relax after so many brutal fights. But Spear's reaction is completely different from what they expected. He rejects the woman immediately and makes it clear he has no interest in that kind of offering. Loyal to Meera and to the idea of the family he carries in his mind, he shows his displeasure, and even ends up shouting at the old man for trying to force him into something he does not want. Without wasting any time, Spear takes the large bird he had ridden before and climbs onto its back. Determined not to remain in that place any longer, he takes flight and quickly leaves the Coliseum behind, abandoning a world that never truly felt like his. Meanwhile, in another part of the land, Meera continues her journey, guided by the map she carries with her. Her goal is clear: find Spear. The path has not been easy. They have already passed the mountain region, but that does not mean the danger is over. In fact, what lies ahead may be even worse. Meera moves forward carefully while her daughter crawls nearby. Around them, Fang's hatchlings remain alert, watching over the baby as if she were part of their own family. At one moment, the child stumbles and nearly falls, but one of the hatchlings reacts quickly and helps keep her safe. The baby begins to cry, and in an attempt to calm her down, the young dinosaurs try to comfort her by gently lifting her. Fang watches the scene with some discomfort. She does not seem entirely pleased with all the commotion surrounding the baby, but she allows it. Somehow, she understands that everyone is trying to protect her. Meera checks her map once again, trying to get her bearings. After a few seconds, she decides to continue the journey forward. As they continue moving forward, the two hatchlings begin arguing with each other over the baby's attention. Neither one wants to give in. Both want to hold her, protect her, and keep her close. The little girl, unaware of the tension between them, simply watches. But then the atmosphere shifts. Suddenly, something is lurking in the shadows. A creature that had been silently stalking them finally reveals itself. It's a humanoid panther, fast, agile, and extremely violent. And without warning, it launches straight at the group. The attack is sudden and brutal. The beast leaps onto Fang and manages to wound her badly. The hatchlings react instantly, trying to help their mother, but the feline predator turns on them as well. The situation quickly spirals into chaos. The Panther locks its gaze on the baby, recognizing her as the most vulnerable target in the group. It slowly begins moving toward her, clearly intending to finish the attack. But just when it seems like all hope is lost, Fang manages to stand again. Despite her injuries, she gathers what strength she has left and throws herself back into the fight. A savage battle erupts between the two. The hatchlings want to step in and help, but Fang refuses to let them get involved. She will not allow them anywhere near the danger. Meanwhile, Meera does everything she can to keep her daughter safe, pulling her away from the reach of the fight. The clash is violent and relentless, filled with blows, roars, and brutal attacks as blood splatters across the ground. However, the outcome of the fight is never fully revealed. The scene cuts away before showing how the battle truly ends. While all of this is happening, Spear is somewhere else. Unlike many fathers who might have walked away from everything, he chooses to return to his daughter. This time, he brings something special with him, the small toy he built just for her. As he approaches the place where he expects to find them, he pauses beside the water and looks down at his reflection. In that moment, he notices that his body has changed. He is no longer exactly the same as before, and for the first time, he seems to wonder if he might now be accepted instead of feared. For a few seconds, he hesitates, but eventually he decides to move forward. He even begins imagining how he should act when he sees them again. Maybe he should greet them, maybe smile, or perhaps simply show the toy he made for his daughter. But when he enters the house, he realizes something is wrong. No one is there. Not Meera, not his daughter, not Fang, and not the hatchlings. Concern immediately takes over. Something clearly happened. Spear looks down at the ground and notices several footprints, evidence that the group left. As he studies the trail in the direction of the tracks, he realizes something important. They were heading straight toward the place where he had been. Without wasting any time, he begins following the trail, hoping to find them, even though the forest is vast and the search will not be easy. Determined not to lose any more time, Spear mounts his prehistoric bird and takes to the sky, continuing the search from above. He flies along the river and eventually descends to examine the tracks more closely. Once he finally figures out the direction the trail is leading, he quickly returns to his mount and resumes the pursuit. And just when it feels like we are about to discover what truly happened, the episode ends abruptly.